And yeah, that I think that qualifies as the longest day of my life.
Yes.
Or what I thought would be the shortest, but
Right.
But anyway, long story short, after 8 full hours down there,
yes,
you know, and you come up, you don't know your name, you don't, you know,
right?
It's really brutal shit, and you know, I'm looking at these Indian guys,
yes,
and they're all like, you know, well, I mean, don't get me wrong, they didn't know their name either, but.
Right.
You know, we all happily went over to the bus stop and sat down and waited until some large thing came along to take us away.
Right.
You know, that's about all we knew. But yeah, we painted out the interior bulkheads, all the bulkheads in these ships with this lead paint, and the contract was 3 weeks.
Yes,
I remember that. And, yeah, at the end of, like, the second day, I just wanted to die, right?
Right.
You know. But anyway, oddly enough, that I met this Indian kid,
yes,
named Ronnie, and, wow, I think part of the reason that Ronnie survived is because he was so pickled in alcohol all the time, right?
Right.
Well, anyway, I didn't see him for another couple of years.
Yes.
You know, he went on his way, and I went on my way, and that was good. And I guess it was about 5 years later.
Yes.
You know, I was working out at the Maxwell farm. I was working out at a agricultural farm. You know, we did strawberries and apples and all that good stuff, right? Drove tractors and chewed on hay, you know.
Right.
Anyway, Mr. Maxwell, the guy that obviously owned the farm,
yes,
Right.
He comes to me one day. He says, "I got a couple of workers for you.
Yes,
I want you guys to go out and do the barn."
Yes,
Right.
He was talking about paint.
Right.
Now, like I said, this was like 5 years later. They actually had, like, you know, exterior enamel paints that weren't, you know, lead, right?
Right.
So that was a welcome experience. So anyway, these Indians come along down the road.
Yes.
And, you know, I couldn't believe it. I'd actually do that thing that the cartoon characters do where they do the corkscrew things in their eyes with their hands. Like, right?
Right.
I'm like, holy shit, it's Ronnie.
yes,
Yeah. Look at you, man. How are you doing, buddy?
Right.
So anyway, I get these 3 Indian guys, including Ronnie, of course, to help me paint the barn.
yes,
And it was good because it was a huge fucking barn.
Right.
You know. Yeah. So anyway, we get working on the barn.
Yes.
This is day 1, and you know, we're painting the barn.
Yes.
And, you know, progress is going along okay because, you know, I'm right up their asses to keep going, right? So, you know.
Right.
So we get done work for the day,
Yes.
and fuck, you know, Maxwell, God love him. You know, he goes at the end of the day, and he's paying these 3 Indian guys cash.
yes,
And I'm looking at him, I'm like, and he's looking at me, he's like, what?
Right.
I'm like, what the fuck are you doing?
Right.
He's like, oh, well, you know, I'll pay these guys at the end of the day. That's okay. I mean, he says, you're regular, so I pay you every couple of weeks, but, you know, I'll pay them at the end of the day. Well,
Right.
he says, why? What's wrong? And I said, well, if you pay them their day's wages today,
yes,
you won't see them tomorrow.
Right.
Right? It's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I worked with these guys before. I said that if you pay them cash, they're gone. That it's booze city.
Right.
Right? So anyway, sure enough, next day,
Yes.
I come into work, and I start at 7 in the morning because, you know, I'm a white man with privilege, right?
Right.
So I start, and I'm doing all of my other stuff, and then, it's coming around 9 o'clock for them to show up, and we go out and do the barn again.
Yes.
So I take one of the, I don't know what the hell it was. No, it wasn't a bicycle. I don't know. We didn't have horses, so it must have been quads.
Yes.
Right.
I don't know. All the lead paint damage, I don't know.
Right.
All I know is I rode something up from the fields to the house.
Yes.
That's all I know.
Right.
So I rode up there to meet them, and, well, of course, damn, what do you know? They're not here. So I go back to doing all the other stuff that I did in the farm.
Yes.
And the barn didn't get touched that day because, of course, they never showed up.
Yes.
Right.
Anyway, long story short, a couple of weeks goes by. They show up intermittently here and there
Yes.
when they need more beer money. And,
Right.
we finally get the barn finished.
Yes.
And on the day that we got the barn finished, that was the last day that they were supposed to work for Maxwell.
Yes.
So I was like, okay, cool. Well, I'll see you guys later. Have a good one, eh?
Yes.
How's it going, eh?
Right.
So Ronnie says, well, hey, man, let's go down and get something to eat and go have some dinner.
Right.
Right? I knew he just wanted to ride into town because I had a car, right?
Right.
So whatever, we go into I don't know where it was, Mr. Mike's or something, some steakhouse or
Yes.
something. We went in and grabbed steak and garlic bread and a lot of booze.
Right.
Right? And I was going to drive him home after that.
Yes.
And, of course, he lives out on one of the reserves. And the reserve that I thought he lived on
Yes.
was actually the one near Esquimalt. It was the Sayut, I think it was? No. I don't know. It's spelled Tusawat.
Right.
So you can never be too sure. But I thought he lived there, which was only 10 minutes from my house.
Yes.
No, he lived at this one that was almost 2 hours away.
Right.
It was way the hell around and up in Port Renfrew.
Right.
Yeah. I had heard of Port Renfrew, I think, once in my life.
Yes.
Didn't even know it was on the island.
Right.
So anyway, whatever. So I'm driving him and driving. Get way the Christ out to Port Renfrew.
Yes.
And get out to the reserve there. And we're driving through the reserve. And this is when I'm noticing that, damn, they've got some nice houses in Port Renfrew. He's like, oh, yeah, the government gives them to us. Right?
Right.
And I'm like, say that again? He's like, yeah. He's like, everybody in my family's all got a house. Right? And, yeah, but hold on a sec now.
Yes.
Yeah, these aren't just, everyday Indian shacks. No.
No.
No, these are I would say on the equivalent at the time, they were $250,000 houses, right?
Right.
So today they'd be worth well over $500,000 each, that kind of thing,
Right.
right? So anyway, we pull up to his place,
Yes.
and he's like, hey, yeah, come on inside, I'll show you around.
Right.
So I'm like, yeah, let me see this beautiful new house you have.
Right.
What the fuck? So anyway, he's taking me through the house.
Yes.
A new washer and dryer, new fridge, stove, all the
Yes.
yeah,
Right.
all the bells and whistles, everything you could possibly want in a house, and so much more. Right? And the weird thing is that, he had one.
Yes.
His brother had one.
Yes.
His sister had one.
Yes.
His mom had one.
Yes.
Right.
His dad had one. Literally every single Indian in the reserve, they all had one. No Indian left behind, I guess. I don't know, but,
Right.
Anyway, so he shows me around. Beautiful house, wall-to-wall carpet,
Yes.
every room. Just beautiful place, double glazed storm window, like fuck, you name it. Like these places had everything, right? And so that was great. I dropped him off and see you later. Have a nice life, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, and off I go. And like another week goes by.
Yes.
And Thursday rolls around and Maxwell tells me that he's got Ronnie coming out to paint his house. So he's got Ronnie coming out now, and he wants me and Ronnie to paint the farmhouse that, you know, that Maxwell and the family lives in, right?
Yes.
I'm like, oh, okay, because he was really impressed with the job we did in the barn, so he wants us to do his house. I'm like, okay, right on.
Right.
So, you know, Thursday, no Ronnie. No.
Right.
I could have only assumed that he had another piecework job somewhere on the Wednesday.
Yes.
And they paid him cash, right?
Right.
So he doesn't show up the Friday or the Thursday, but he shows up the Friday, and he's there right at like 7:30 in the morning. I think he must have pooped the bed. But
Right.
so anyway, he's there, and we get going and zip, zip, zip. You know, just get it all done nice and quick. And at the end of the day, we still had pretty much all the garage still to do and that kind of thing. So I said, you know, you want to come back tomorrow morning, we'll finish it off kind of thing, right?
Right.
He's like, yeah, okay. Yeah. And just then, of course, Maxwell comes out and pays him in cash.
Right.
And yes, the next day I finished the garage myself.
Right.
But the night before, the Friday night, of course, he pays him in cash, and then he wants to ride into town again, so we go for a nice steak dinner again, you know? What the hell, right? And he wants me to take him out to his house again. And I'm like, oh, fuck, really? I'm like, dude, that cost me $20 in gas the last time. And that was back when it wasn't $70 a gallon.
Right.
So whatever, he just hands me $20.
Yes.
And I'm like, right on.
Yes.
Right.
So, you know, he paid half for the first time and half for this time. That's really good. He's an Indian.
Right.
So anyway, fine. We blast back out to the reserve, right?
Yes.
Now, since I've last been to his house, it's been the sum and total of 7 days, a whole week.
Yes.
Right? Roll up to his house today, and the windows are all smashed. The half the siding outside has been taken off.
Yes.
It's just gone. You can see into the smashed living room windows. You can see spray paint all over the walls, right?
Right.
And we go in, and they've taken bats to the fridge and stove. Well, like all of his Indian buddies come over on Saturday and had a party, right?
Right.
Anyway, I'm like, dude, what the fuck?
Right.
He's like, oh, the rest of my friends came over and we broke it in, eh? He thought it was a big joke.
Yes.
I'm just like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Right? Now, I got to say, I did notice that most of the other houses on the reserve, they were all like his was now, right?
Right.
And this is where I find out strange and unusual things about the Indians and the government.
Yes.
Right.
You know, he explains to me that, the government gives them these brand new houses on the residential land, and, you know, in exchange for diddling their children in the schools, right?
Right.
Well, there's the abuse, but then there's also the rapes and murders, so, you know.
Right.
Yeah, this is one of Louis's movies, actually.
Yes.
The what was it, Louis? The Unrepentant? That's the